During World War II, about 6 million Jewish civilians were brutally killed just because they were Jewish under Adolf Hitler's rule. Jews, known as Juden in German, follow Judaism, one of the oldest religions in the world. Historically, tensions had often existed between Jews and Christians. When Hitler came to power before the war, he had a relentless mission to wipe out Jews globally. He began this horrific plan by persecuting Jews in Germany and then expanded to all the regions the Nazis took over. But here's the thing, it wasn't hard for the German government to find the Jews living within their own borders because they already had access to government records and data. However, in countries outside of Germany that were later occupied, how did the Nazis manage to identify and round up the Jewish population? That's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. Our story begins in 1933 when Hitler became Chancellor of Germany after winning the election, making him the country's top leader. Just 2 months into his rule, the Nazi government passes a law known as the Aryan Paragraph. This law stated that only those considered true Aryans had the right to live in Germany. People of Aryan descent were seen as superior, while Jews were completely pushed out of German society. So what was the first step the Nazi government took? They began by firing anyone working for the government who was identified as Jewish. After that, they went after individuals whose parents or grandparents were Jewish. If you had any Jewish ancestry at all, you were arrested and removed from your job. This is how the Nazi regime systematically identified Jews within the government. When this rule came into effect in 1933, some Jews were given exemptions. If you or an immediate family member had served in World War I, you were allowed to keep your job for a little while. There was an exemption in 1933, but by 1935, that exemption, you no longer had the right to hold any government position. Then, in August of 1938, another rule was passed. This new law required that all Jews adopt names that clearly marked them as Jewish. They mandated that the first name of all men should be Israel and the middle name of all women should be Sarah, making it easy to identify someone as Jewish just by their name. Afterward, they confiscated everyone's passports and stamped a J on the passports of all Jews, allowing them to be recognized at a glance. So in this way, the Nazi government made sure that all documentation and government issued IDs were set up to instantly reveal someone's Jewish identity. However, even with this documentation, it was still tough to identify a Jew just by looking at someone without checking their ID. To tackle this problem, they passed another law in 1941 that required all Jews over the age of 6 to wear a yellow star on their clothing. The star indicated that the person was Jewish, and it wasn't optional. If you were Jewish and didn't wear the star, and you were caught with your documents checked proving you were a Jew, you faced severe punishment. You could be arrested or even killed. Similarly, Jews were ordered to hang the yellow star outside their home so it would be clear that the house belonged to a Jewish family. In this way, they enacted various laws in Germany to identify and locate all the Jews, marking where Jews lived and who was considered Jewish. But here's the thing, during World War II, 75% of the Jews who were killed were outside of Germany. Most of them came from Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Soviet Union, Poland, where there was no Nazi government. So how were they locating Jews in these areas? To address this, the Nazi government set up a different system in 1939 when the German military attacked Poland and defeated it. After capturing one of the main cities, SS soldiers would immediately follow in. The SS was a paramilitary group in Germany whose job was to round up all the Aryan people and separate them from the Jews. Within the SS was a special unit called the Gestapo, whose task was to identify Jews and separate them from the rest of the population. Once they seized the city, they would access all the documents and information stored there. This is how they figured out where Jews lived. Government offices held income tax records, marriage certificates, and general census data, which helped them understand how many Jews lived in the area and where they resided. In this way, outside of Germany, they began rounding up Jews on a large scale. However, there were some Jews living far away from the cities, so how did they catch them? Their method was to go into local areas and ask the residents who lived there. At first, many locals helped the German SS find the Jews, partly because there were tensions among communities. With so many Jews in the area and existing rivalries, some locals pointed out Jews to the SS. But as the number of Jews began to dwindle and the villages became smaller, it got much harder to find them. The rest of the population who weren't Jewish stopped providing addresses for their Jewish neighbors, making it increasingly difficult for the SS to locate them. Some people actively helped Jews by hiding them. To counter this, the SS started offering rewards to locals, promising them a certain amount of money if they revealed the addresses of Jews, but then they escalated their tactics, threatening anyone who knew about Jews with arrest or even death. Additionally, the SS would go into churches to access documents and identify Jews in the community. This is how they established a system to track down Jews. As a result, during World War II, 6 million Jews were killed. The entire subject of Jews is very serious and sensitive, and whenever we make a video about it, often faces censorship. Yet some Jews managed to create fake IDs and lived among regular people. Others didn't make any different ID but would run away and hide, making it difficult for the SS and Gestapo to catch them. A notable example of this is a Jew from Belarus named Tuvia Bielski. When the Gestapo came to catch Tuvia Bielski, he ran away and hid in the jungle. There, he eventually reunited with his brothers, and slowly more people joined them in hiding. This way, Tuvia Bielski and his brothers established a refugee camp for Jews in the jungle. However, when the German military and the SS learned about this camp, they launched an attack, forcing the camp to relocate. Throughout the war, this Bielski group constantly moved their camp from one place to another. Amidst numerous SS attacks and all the running, many Jews were sadly killed, but still a significant number found safety in these refugee camps. The story of Tuvia Bielski and his brothers is quite popular, and there's a fantastic movie about it called Defiance, which depicts how these brothers decided they wouldn't go down without a fight and resolved to help other Jews. If you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth watching. This story highlights how some Jews took up arms to fight against the SS, and meanwhile, there were also non-Jewish civilians who helped them. Local people in Germany recognized that something was deeply wrong. One of the most famous examples of this is Oskar Schindler. He was a prominent businessman and a member of the Nazi Party, wielding significant influence, yet he witnessed the horrific killings of Jews in the ghettos. Seeing how dire the situation was for the Jews, Oskar Schindler took action. He established his own factory and began importing Jews to work there. All the Jews employed in his factory were able to survive. Word spread among the Jewish community that if you went to Schindler's factory, you would be safe through this means. Schindler managed to save over 1,000 Jews during the war. Today, the descendants of those Jews are known as the Schindler's Jews. There's also a powerful movie about Oskar Schindler called Schindler's List, directed by Steven Bergsperm. While the film portrays the dark realities of the Jewish tragedy, the ending offers a sense of relief. So definitely check out this movie. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel.